All right. Welcome to Astronomy Madness 2020. This is going to be round two of the CDC Atlanta region. We're talking viruses and bacteria with my co-hosts, Cammie, Lydia, and Violet. Our intros are getting more and more elaborate as we go. So today we talk about a region where we have learned a lot, and we've got not one, but two Cinderella stories going on. Right now we've got 13th seeded AIDS still in it after a surprise upset against the Super 4 seed in smallpox. But then Lydia, the biggest upset of them all, we had 15th seeded Salmonella pull an epic bracket buster over 2 seeded Ebola. So we got a whole lot to go down. Let's take it back over to the big board. Cammie, is our top seed still alive in this region? Very good. What is our top seed? We got the plague, the Black Death. That's our 1 seed. And 27 of you have the Black Death, winning the whole thing. So it is going to be up against 8th seeded measles. Then we've got 5 seeded Bordetella Pertussis, whooping cough, up against 13th seeded AIDS. And then a lot of people have a surprise here. 3rd seeded Typhoid Fever. Can it reach the Sweet 16? If it does, it's going to have to beat 6th seeded Polio. And then we've got 7th seeded Cholera, who is now the surprise favorite against 15th seeded Salmonella. Will any of these Cinderella stories continue? Let's go ahead and get started. Lydia, for our first matchup, top seeded Plague is down a chip in a bit. 8th seeded Measles is up a chip. So instead of this being 8 versus 1, this is going to be 7 versus 2. Lydia, I need 7 blue chips for Plague, 2 pink ones for Measles. Cammie, back at the big board, how are you and Violet feeling about this opening matchup here? Okay, how's Ben the cat feeling for this one? Feeling soft for this one. By the way, just a little bit of info on this one. Lydia, I'm going to switch over to my notes for this, but the camera is still on. We already talked about the Black Death in round 1. We've had 3 different pandemics. The biggest one, though, was in 1347, where it wiped out a third of Europe's population. And a little bit of Middle Ages trivia for you here. The reason we actually have summer vacations now, and people sometimes go out to country homes, that actually started in the Middle Ages in Europe when people fled the cities to escape the plague. And then it's going up against measles, which is a highly contagious disease that's caused by the measles virus. You can get fever and rash, and it spreads through coughs and sneezes of those infected. So we got plague represented by the blue chips and measles by the pink. Lydia, do you have enough chips in here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you do. Okay. First pick, top of the bucket. Will we have another upset going down? Wait, I got to put my zoom back on so I can see what you actually picked. All right. For those of you who picked the plague, plague is moving on. So we've got 2 of our 4 1 seeds alive. That makes me very happy. Everybody loves a good upset, but sometimes in Astronomy Madness, if the madness is too high, then people get frustrated. I'm happy for those of you that picked the plague, still moving on. All right, next up, we've got Bordetella Pertussis, our 5 seed, up against AIDS, our 13. And this time, Bordetella is down a chip. So, Lydia, this is what?
Is when madness too high an example of when George Washington?
Yes, that was too much madness for the public, and that busted Dad's bracket. We did not like that. All right, let's see here. Oh, really? You guys got AIDS making a run as a Cinderella team? All right, that's what they got at the big board. Lydia, I need 12 chips. Whoa, bracket literally got busted. 12 chips for the 5 seed, and then I need 5 chips for the 13th seed. Good job, ladies. Way to get that back up. So while we are fixing our bracket up and our cat's running around and Lydia's picking some chips, a little bit about these 2 entries here. So Bordetella Pertussis is more commonly known as the bacteria that causes whooping cough, transmitted through the air. Interestingly, only humans can get this. So dolphins will not get whooping cough if you're worried about it. And this was absolutely deadly. It killed between 10 and 20,000 people a year in the US, before the vaccine was introduced, and since then, the rate has dropped over 90% in developed countries. Then we have AIDS, and that stands for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome, and it's a variety of conditions that's caused by the HIV virus. And that itself is not deadly, but it weakens the immune system so much, then a person infected with AIDS can succumb to other diseases. So also very, very scary. Okay, bottom of the bucket this time. So whooping cough is our blue, our favorite, and then AIDS is our pink, our underdog. My bracket's shot. I have no preference on this one. What do you got?
What do you want?
You know what? I want to see a Cinderella story continue. Bottom of the bucket.
So you want
Will
the
Lydia
top?
pull a pink chip for the 13 seed to move on? And
Ha! We were right.
whoa, the big board was right. AIDS is moving on to the 13 seed. Whooping cough goes down, and that means, oh my gosh, that's going to be an epic round 2. That means, or Sweet 16, that means we're going to have the plague facing off against AIDS as a 13th seed, and it's going to get a chip. Wow, moving on as a 13th seed, but you know what? In the NCAA men's tournament, that happens almost every single year. A 12 or a 13th seed does reach the Sweet 16. All right, next up, no bonuses in play. We got third-seeded Typhoid Fever, quite literally the only, well, one of only 2 teams that I still have in this region, up against 6-seeded Polio. So, Lydia, we need 6 blue chips for Typhoid Fever and 3 pink chips for Polio. Cammy, let's try some.
Typhoid fever?
What's that?
So do you want
I do want Typhoid Fever. Cammy, let's try the opposite math we tried in the last round. Since Polio has 3 chips out of 9, what percentage chance does it have to pull an upset here? Very good. Reduces to 1/3. So very quick, Lydia, just one moment. You can shake that bucket up a little bit. All right, so typhoid fever, once again, bacterial infection caused by a strain of salmonella, weakness, vomiting, skin rash, and for those of us who played Oregon Trail, always usually costs us at least one member of our wagon party, and that is up against 6-seeded polio. Many recover from the polio virus. 70% have no symptoms, but years later they can get post-polio symptom. And decades ago, the dreaded iron lung was used to help people breathe who had the polio virus. Okay, so we got typhoid in blue and we got polio in pink. It was terrifying, this big metal tube that they would lay inside, and it was basically like an artificial ventilator. Okay, left side of the bucket, Lydia. Left side, left side. Lydia holding the bucket on her own this time. Will it affect? And of course, we have another upset in this region. Polio is moving on as the 6th seed. Polio moving on. There goes another one of Dad's Elite 8 teams. Lydia single-handedly breaking my brackets here. Yeah, next year, I think, is now my slogan for my own bracket. All right, polio moves on as the 6th. So finally, we've got 7th-seeded cholera against 15th-seeded salmonella. Lydia, no research bonuses in play here. I need 15 blue chips for cholera, and I need 7 pink chips for salmonella. 15 and 7. Cammy, back at the big board, what are you ladies feeling for this one? Okay. Okay, you have no choice on this. Okay, I actually had cholera pulling the upset. I had it going over 2-seeded Ebola. So in theory, I've got favored odds here, but it certainly hasn't worked out that way. Right now, as the 7 seed, cholera is going to have 15 chips out of 22. It's got a 68% chance at moving on as the 7. And just one quick word on these 2 viruses so we can learn just a little bit. So cholera is an infection caused by a bacteria. It is usually spread by unsafe water and contaminated food. So even though this has been mostly eradicated in developed worlds like the United States, still very common in third world countries, but there is a vaccine that can last for up to 6 months. And then we have salmonella, which is much more common, and it can be very dangerous in the old and young. And once again, that usually comes from food poisoning, eating contaminated food. Shush, I knew as soon as I said that, I knew you would pick up on that, you little rascal. Okay, so our final pick of round 2, we need right-hand side, Lydia, right-hand side. I need Cholera. It's literally the last team I have in this whole region. Literally every single team I have now from that region entirely gone. I mean, you can see it right here. This whole region is now shot for me. That means we literally have this region. We've got a 1 and a 6. Okay, 6, a little bit of an upset. Then we got a 13 and we got a 15 moving on. Salmonella.
Wait, is this all
finds,
upsets in this region?
Oh my gosh, you know what? All upsets except the plague. The plague is moving on. So for those of you who did take plague, the path is seemingly set here. It's just got to overcome a 13 seed and then the winner of a 6-15. Cammie, Violet, any final thoughts back there from the big board?
You're cleaning up those chips. Lydia pulls a lot of upsets.
She does. Too many upsets.
So next year she won't be pulling them.
I think one of you two needs to be the chip picker for next year. All right, for Mr. Krug, Cammie, Lydia, buffering of our internet, and Violet. I know Violet's name. All right, more upsets. Can you handle the rest of the madness? Stay tuned. Everybody get in on this picture. Get in here, Violet. Where are you at, girl? Everybody say peace. Peace.